Hey everybody, it's Kirstin again with a Facebook Live. My son Bobby just told me that you don't call them that. They're not Facebook Lives, so I don't know what they're called. I'm calling them Facebook Lives, and here I am live. So thanks for being here. um, so I have another quote today, and it's from William James. I meant to Google William James before I started, but then I forgot. So here's another poor dude that I don't know who he is. We'll check him out later. So what William says is that whenever you're in conflict with someone, there is one factor that can make a difference: attitude. I talk about attitude a lot. I don't necessarily use that word because I think for some people it's a bit of a trigger word. I don't like your attitude. You have a bad attitude. But definitely how you feel about the conflict, what you think about the conflict, how you're reacting to the conflict, how you think the conflict will be resolved or not be resolved, what you think about the other person, how you feel about the other person. Those are all things that can really have an impact on the outcome of the conflict. So your attitude towards the situation really has a huge impact on how things will go. We really are so powerful in conflict. You know, those times where I think most people would feel like they don't have any power when they're in conflict. You know, the people who feel really stressed about it, who really worry about whether or not it's going to work out, and whether or not they'll be able to get their needs met, whether or not they'll be able to salvage the relationship. Maybe you feel really powerless, but we actually have quite a lot of power in conflict, and our attitude, it has a lot to do with that. So when I coach people to participate in a collaborative process, and what I teach people to do when they are preparing themselves for participating in a collaborative process, is to really focus a lot on their own attitudes and beliefs about the conflict, about conflict in general, about the other person. When you can make some shifts in that, you can really make a huge impact in how things are going to go. Because of all the skills and the training and the practice and the history I have with using these skills, I'm not saying that I don't have conflict. Certainly, everybody has conflict. It's just a normal part of life. But when I do have conflict, I tend not to get freaked out by it, because I have had lots of experience in working things out, and I can remember lots of times. I can remember not that long ago working on a project with someone, and it was a number of people working on a project, and somebody called me, and they were very worried about something that came up, and they were really, kind of freaking out a little bit about, what they imagined would be possibly an insurmountable conflict. And I said, oh, I'm not worried. We'll work that out. No problem. Yeah, that'll be fine. And just even hearing me say that, they were like, oh, okay then, that's great. And we did work it out, and it was fine, and it wasn't a big deal. If I had reacted in a different way, if I had said, oh my gosh, that's going to be really hard, and oh, I'm so stressed about that, and oh, you're right, like, how are we going to manage that? Then that could have been a whole different kettle of fish. So how you go into a conflict, how you approach it, and how you feel about it really does make such an impact. And when I coach people, and when I prepare people for mediating or participating in another type of collaborative process, I just spend a lot of time really trying to help them make those shifts from sort of that fear and judgment to curiosity and openness, from positions, that really dug in sort of place of this is how it has to be solved, to more of an openness to any solutions as long as they meet their needs. You've heard me talk a lot about needs, a lot about interests, and it's sort of the foundation piece of the processes that I use and the skills that I teach. And so helping people to really shift away from those positions towards their interests and those needs that have to be met in order for them to feel satisfied, that really can have an impact on shifting that attitude as well. You know, I tell my clients, you can manifest a really bad relationship. You can manifest a bad outcome to conflict. You can manifest a good outcome to conflict as well. And really, it does come down to attitude. It does come down to those shifts that I was talking about, and whether or not you can either make them yourself with the skills and the processes that I teach people in terms of how to prepare yourself for that difficult conversation, or if it's a more serious or more complex situation, with the help of someone like me, like a mediator, or maybe a colleague that also has the skills. So yeah, so attitude, William James, whoever you are, I think you're right. Whenever you're in conflict with someone, there is one factor that can make a difference: attitude. It does make all the difference. And when you can get yourself to that place of, you know what, this is going to be okay, we're going to work this out, you know, working with you is important to me, our working relationship is important to me, or our friendship's important to me, or whatever it is, and I'm committed to, you know, hearing you, and I'm committed to sharing with you what's important to me, because I want us both to be satisfied, because that's really what leads to a lasting agreement, is that both or all parties involved are satisfied with the results, that their needs are satisfied. So one more time, William James, whenever you're in conflict with someone, there's one factor that can make a difference: attitude. Maybe someone will tell me who William James is, or maybe I'll Google him and I'll let you know. So thanks for joining. Maybe you have some comments about attitude. I'd love to hear your comments. If there's a time when you had a conflict and you noticed that going in, you know, your attitude had an impact, or someone else's attitude had an impact, or maybe a time when you went into a conflict and you shifted your attitude. Maybe you were more open. Maybe you were maybe you did some work to reduce your fear around it beforehand, and maybe that had an impact. I'd love to hear about that. Or I'd love to hear your questions about attitude, or about how to make the shifts, or whatever. Any questions that you have, I'd love to hear them. Just post them below the video, and I'll talk about them in another live. I'm not running out of quotes. I got lots of quotes, but I'd rather answer your questions. So if you have some, let me know. So this is day 15. I think I have 11 more before my little marathon of Facebook Lives is over, and it's been very fun. So one of the things that I want to remind you of is that if you want that free training guide, you can go to collaborationschool.com and download that. That really does have a lot to do with attitude, and how to sort of shift yourself a little bit to prevent some conflicts. Yeah, and if anybody's thinking about the course and whether or not it might be useful for you in terms of the types of conflicts that you deal with, I'm going to do some more. I had some slots today that people could use and did use to chat with me a little bit, I did a little mini conflict coaching session, just listening, hearing about what the types of conflicts are that you're managing, doing a little bit of coaching, and helping you to figure out would the course be a good fit for you or not. So I'm going to post some more times soon, some times for next week. And if you want one, and I haven't posted the times yet, you can just send me an email or Facebook message, and we can figure out a time. All right, so thanks everybody. See you tomorrow.